Hello, this run was recorded offline and without mic, so I am recording this after. Level 1, we got station, 8.3 quota. But we get a nice easy ice block in the first room. Sounds like gnomes probably in the level. It's usually the culprit for a door opening that early. The gnome like wandering off to wherever its other gnome buddies are. And then surprised we actually have a clown in here, so I can't even like go look for like other stuff to toss in. But doesn't matter, we're done at a level 1 like pretty much instantly. Only really need enough to get by, and 11k is plenty good enough for a level 1 anyways. Shop, we get movements, we got tumble launch, and we'll go and grab a couple of nades. One of each kind, so we can deal with pretty much anything. And then we have Academy level 2, which isn't bad. Especially since we already used Station level 1. Station's usually like the better level to start off with. Got a 10.2 quota. No bigs over here, but at least we found a couple of small things that have decent value. Nothing off in that corner other than a blue crystal to maybe grab later. And on the table, another small green cup, and we spot the vase in one of the spots across the way. That'll be a clear. Because I have a fun time getting around that table through the door. Bump that off, throw in just enough to clear. We'll grab that power crystal and hopefully go find a cube or an orb or something else of value. Bottle and a plate are also nice. Fairly low profile things that are of good value to them. I thought for a moment that was a blue crystal, but it's just the lighting in the room. It makes it seem like there is. And there's a headman who I hadn't heard up to that point, so that could have been pretty bad. And there's a duck, which is also not great. The duck can alert the headman, or not the headman, the huntsman to where you are. Unfortunately though, I already found everything, so we just need to walk back. I tossed that nade there, assuming the huntsman was right behind me, but he's not as close behind me as I thought. So I kind of wasted one of my nades there. Like looking around nervously for the huntsman in case he respawns, but we're nice and safe. Not a great level 2. Like a minute slower than what it could have been. With like really optimal item placements and stuff, but it's not bad. Gun is an instant buy. There is very, very little that would take priority over a gun, especially this early in a run. Bunch of stuff it kills in like one shot. 250s it kills in 3 to 4 depending on if they've taken any other damage or if you can just tumble them. $13.5 for this quota. Station's not bad for level 3. Doesn't have any like 45k items in it, so at the very least you don't have to worry about the level being like destitute of value because of those. And I looked up or run around in that previous room to check for anything before I grabbed the vase, and now I walked into the next room and found this terminal to load up. Which is now a little bit harder to balance because the vase makes it not a flat surface. Its value is high enough that it's not the worst idea to wait for bag, but I wasn't really planning on waiting for bag because I have gun and I can just get orbs. But orbs aren't guaranteed. Especially on level 3. But it also just took me so long to get the terminal in there nicely that I was just like, screw it, I'll just take the bag, it's fine. Now I don't have to worry about collecting orbs, I just have to get to the end of the level. I already have enough for extract. With just 2 items. But if you put the orbs in front of me, I guess I'll take them for extra credit. I don't really have a choice but to kill the enemies anyways. They're in the way like this one. So, taking an extra like a second or so to get a few $1,000s of value will be nice in the long run for the shop and all that. It's like about 9 or 10,000 more that I got from orbs. Mentalist was right there, and then Trudge you can hear off to the left, so nice and easy escape, don't have to worry about getting hit by anything. Not a crazy level 3. I definitely didn't play it as good as I could have because of how much trouble I had getting that supercomputer terminal, whatever you want to call it, back to the extract, but it's fine. I was gonna get a bunch of upgrades here, but ended up just getting zero grav and double jump. Double jump is a nice movement to have, especially for certain levels. And zero grav drone makes it to where I don't have to worry about not having the strength to carry something. It's also just a very high utility drone. Moving stuff around with it is like a lot less dangerous than moving stuff around with feather. You can move stuff like across gaps or across rooms very quickly. It's a very good item. 11.2 extract. I didn't think to put the drone on this because at level 4 you kind of assume you have a strength, but I did not. We got 5.8 in the extract. That leaves 5.4 is what I need in cart in order to turn stuff in. That's just enough value for it. So a lot of times at this point we're basically just trying to get this first extract done as fast as possible, even if it requires using like a bunch of smalls. Because at that point then we can just like explore the rest of the map freely and use whatever extract we want in whatever order. It's just kind of whatever order you find stuff in. Don't bother grabbing the egg there. The egg's not a very good valuable to grab most of the time. It's very large and doesn't have that much value to it. Checking around all these like high spots and other sections in rooms that usually have items in them, or at least sometimes have items in them, but coming up fairly empty. The egg is still there as backup, but I don't really want to take it. It doesn't really help much at this point because I'm not like that close to the 11.2 value that I need. Eyeball machine helps though. And so does this guy. And I also spotted a blender in there, so now this has enough value in it to turn in. And then I can just walk back over, grab the blender, and turn that in for the other extract. I don't have to look for value anymore, which is nice. Got a Reaper over there, don't gotta worry about that too much, hopefully. I duck under my car just in case it was like looking my direction, even though it probably wasn't. I could have zero-grabbed the blender, but it's not that hard to put it on a cart. And also getting drone off of items is sometimes a pain in the butt if it like decides to fly behind the item or behind the extract or something. The main thing I'm lacking at this point is just indestructible drone, and like wings for movement. Would also like to have like a bunch of range and like strength and stuff like that. Also a bit of extra health for safety. There's not too much to buy here besides health and like one of a couple of different upgrades. Strength 4 is like nice to get to for like being able to grab certain enemies. And also I forgot to use the health upgrade there. I don't actually use it for a little bit yet. But not intentionally, it was just on good runs the nerves happen. Such as hitting caps lock and having the game like freeze up a little bit. Extract is 13.3. I've already spotted a staff and a master potion. Kind of checking this room real quick for anything important before I turn that in. Between the two of them, it's going to be like 24,000 or so, which is like almost enough for 2 extracts, so definitely worth just bagging it. Only need like a couple of thousand or so to clear the next extract, and then it's just like another item or so for the last one, assuming that there's like a broom or a cube or, you know, something relatively decent. That green cup wasn't quite enough, so this will do. So I got a vase here for the next one. I just check this dead end in case there's like a cube or anything in there. At this point I mostly just want to make a beeline for the extracts. And then there's a hidden here, so I'm gonna have to shoot him. Except I failed to. Even in a run like this freak causes so much grief. Fortunately, he gets his just desserts. Spot the clown. And like, okay, I need my gun. And around this point, I realize I have plenty of money, but I also see that box, so I didn't really need to grab that orb or anything else really at that point. Take care of that peeper. And because I have zero grav drone, I don't even need to like bother removing stuff from cart, so I can take cart. I can just go grab the box and float it over to the extract, which is like right there. You have to be a little bit careful because it's only got 18k, but it can afford 5k damage before it's an issue. Although I would like to keep the money regardless. Not getting the drone off, it's a pain in the butt, like I mentioned earlier, to the point where this can happen. Luckily it doesn't take more than like 250 damage per tick or so of that. As long as it's not banned against anything in particular. So it was still plenty enough by the time the extract came down, and the escape is pretty easy. The hidden was like behind me to begin with, and the clown was easily bypassed. I don't even know where the peeper spawned at. So yeah, up to this point in the run, this is like kind of standard. Like the level 1 was insanely good, but everything else has just been like kind of a modest, like you're finding stuff, but it's not that fast sort of thing. Feather drone's not worth grabbing because I already have 0 grav. Not really anything else worth grabbing at all. Like yellow upgrades are pretty much useless. For speedruns at least. There's like some niche uses of certain things like crouch rest. But like stamina upgrades aren't really helpful because you're usually going to be out of stamina. So having more max stamina is kind of unimportant. You're going to be tumbling if you have no cart. If you do have cart, you're going to be cart boosting. So sprint speed is also not that important. But now we have museum, which is a very good level to have, especially at this point. Because there's a lot of 45k items and the rooms are pretty open, the layouts are kind of nice. 12.6 is not a high extract amount, so it's very good that this was in the first room. Shout out to Foolendry for showing that you can extract the traffic lights like that. I saw that earlier that day. Otherwise I assumed you had to have it standing up because it's so tall. It's always like nerve-wracking to have like the server or that be in the extract like that. I assumed there was an extract this way, that turns out there wasn't, but I did spot that T set. And originally I was thinking that I didn't really need it. I have like enough for 2 extracts on its own, but after thinking about the fact that one, this would be like the last item I need to find, assuming I didn't like screw it up. And 2, that between the T set and the traffic light, the amount of value on a map is like the quota is determined by the amount of value on the map, and the number of items that spawn in this patch is not a set number. If you hit like the target value on the map while spawning valuables, it'll just stop spawning valuables. So if you get like a couple of early rolls, like a traffic light and a T-set, you're going to have less items on the map than if you rolled those later. And with a low quota, that also means that there wasn't that many, there wasn't that high of a valuable, as high valued of a valuable rolled at the end of it. I think the baseline quota for this level is like around 11k. Maybe like 12k. So when you see the quota, the only thing you can really drive from that is what like the last rolled item's value was and how far over the threshold it went. So like even seeing the 12k, usually you would think, oh, that just means there's no like super high value item in here. It's like it doesn't go that far up over the 12k amount value, because the quota here can be like as high as like 16 or so. But anyways, had all the value I needed already, just kind of cleared out the 2 extracts with the remaining bag. Dealt with the robe when it came down to investigate the extract sound. So that tumble was intentional. 3 shots and a tumble will kill any 250 HP enemies, which is most tier 3s. But it didn't see the upstream behind it, but fortunately it didn't matter. That was a very good level 6. Just having basically all the value of the level that I needed in the first room is very nice. Wing is also very nice to have now, because that helps move in a lot, both for getting up and getting through rooms. No indie drone to grab, and I've already grabbed some crystals, so I'm pretty good on crystals. At this point I just need like range, a little bit more strength for safety, and the indestructible drone. So checking shop is relatively quick. Level 7, we got another swift broom. I'm gonna make sure my gun is charged all the way here because sometimes you need like every single shot and then some. $13.9, well, 14k quota. The numbers I say for that is the number of the quota rounded up to the nearest 100 because all item values are going to be by hundreds. So assuming I don't damage anything, I need my cart to say 14,000 for this one before I head back to the extract. Or rather, in this case, since I have 10.7 already in there, I only need like 3.3. Neither of these two items would have cleared on their own, but the combination of them does. I grabbed the clown and like set it down over there around the edge of the stairs, using the range that I had. That way I could grab both of them and not have to like make 2 trips to the room with the cart. I didn't leave cart over there because take cart across the gap is a little slow. That's first extract done. Now it's just a matter of traveling through the map and finding everything else. Ideally finding 1 or 2 things of like good value. I spot a broom there. I checked that upstairs spot and this room right here because those are 2 potential Griffin spawns. Missing a Griffin spawn is really bad. You miss a Griffin spawn that's like up to $45,000 in value that you're just not spotting. I needed a little bit more money for this along with the broom, assuming that the broom wasn't like a high roll. So, fortunately the frog and the shadow child showed up. I usually don't bother killing the shadow children, but you know, sometimes if they're like in the way, it's like might as well. But yeah, orb made that enough with the broom. I didn't grab the shadow child orb earlier, so I'll do that now along with the peeper orb. Now I only need to find like 20,000 in value at this point, which could be a staff or an up box or a griffin. I hadn't really found anything besides brooms up to this point. But then there was an up box, so easy enough. It's another low rolling one. And I can just kind of float it over the box with zero grav, which is another great use for it. The cart has its own little like gravity field on it, sort of, so that if you float an item above it, it'll tend to stay on it. And also protect the item from damage to some extent. And then also, like, when you have that gap there, you can just float items across and upwards, and then jump up, rather than having to, like, walk an item all the way up the ramp. Now that's done, and I already have enough in cart to clear, so I just need to find the extract. Extracts will always spawn, well, the dead ends are chosen, and then it chooses which dead ends are extracts. It'll always choose dead ends that have like the most combined space away from each other. Because I had an extract in like the truck area, and then like one in like the front right of the map, or so, if you're like facing that way. And then one in like that left end of the map where the box was. I knew that the final extract was going to be in like the back right general direction. That's why I knew like which direction to go for that. Pretty solid level 7. Not like crazy good, but pretty solid. Got the rest of the range and strength I need in here, which is nice. No indie. I was like gonna toss in a crystal, but it's not really necessary. So my splits at this point, I'm like 3 minutes ahead of those, but that's not my PB. If you've seen the previous video, my old PB was like a 42 something. These splits are from a level 25 completion that I did. And in the level 8 for this particular run, it took me, I want to say like 7 or 8 minutes to clear. Something like that. Oh no, I didn't. I'm thinking of a different run. This one only took 5 minutes. Which actually isn't that bad. I'm looking at level 9, my bad. That's why I was confused. But in any case, this run is like pretty good at this point. Able to find some stuff to clear first pretty quickly. And then also there's a blunder here for second. So I'm able to drop that in. Instead of having to like walk all the way up and around, I can just jump up to the extract and just pull it from below. Is usually the best way to handle that extract. Even if you have like a cart full of items, you can empty cart that way as long as you have like 3 range. We got teacup and a drone. Extract is like 19.1 or so. Nothing crazy in here. Nothing crazy up here. I'll grab the egg for the moment, but I like kind of have it in my head that I'll drop it. There's a tall guy over there, which will be enough to extract on its own. But I also have enough here on the cart now. Especially with the orb. To where I can just walk it up to here and turn it in. And then I'll just take tall guy to the next one. Normally I would probably do it the other way around and just take cart next and take the big thing to the close extract. But with zero grav, it's not too hard to move that big stuff around, and also the cart was like so full that it's like kind of risky to keep moving it around a lot. Stuff's gonna fall out and break, and then I have to find more stuff. And I do have to be like a little careful about this because I have indie on it. So even though I can like kind of launch it across rooms, or let go of it for a moment to deal with a mentalist, I do have to be like a little careful moving it around. If it takes very much damage at all, it's bad news. I can just double jump and wing tumble up most of that room. That room is also just in general nice to not have to bring cart back up. Having double jump wing for that is even better. So now you can get out of there fast and also not have to bring cart up. And I didn't have to deal with Huntsman on the escape, so that was good. Very good level 8. Beat the previous gold by like 30 seconds. Alright, now this is the level that was 8 levels in the run that's being compared against. I found my Indian shop, so now I'm like fully kitted pretty much. The only thing that I might change in my items at this point would be to swap out gun for sledgehammer. Sledgehammer is like a little better in my opinion, but gun is still like good. It just takes multiple shots and is like a little slow for some enemies. Like sledge is a lot better for dealing with enemies that like get one shot by sledge but don't get one shot by gun. Or sledge is like a little bit safer for certain enemies because you can just kind of stun them with sledge and do like a single sledge hit and then a physics hit. Gun has its uses though, and it still has like the advantage of range that sledge doesn't have as much of. Especially if you don't have range upgrades for it. 20.2 extract, which is not high but not super low either. It's kind of in the middle. Well, I would say it's probably on the lower end. I think the extract value here is usually between like 19 and like 24 or so. But on station, it's probably not going to get that high anyways. But again, kind of a struggle to deal with a very full cart here. Thankfully, Indy and Zero Grav make moving around that extra vase a little bit less painful. Even though it certainly sounds painful. Even get it stuck on the door there. The little like bottom ridge of the vase was like stuck on the door frame. Little funny twirl there by the little research sample. And we're on to the first extract, at least. We haven't found anything like big. And then there's this jump scare. Once been thankfully shot the wrong way, I would have lived through a single shot just fine. But this would have really put me in dire straits, and that's not great either. At this point I remember, oh right, I have 4 strength now, I can just grab the upscreen and swing it around. I'm far enough away from the gun that when I grab it off the ground and it makes a noise on the ground, it makes the huntsman shoot, but not at me. And now I went from no items in my cart to 17k and just orbs, which is part of why having a weapon in this patch is so good. Orbs are very valuable and can add up very quickly. And all of the weapons, well, most of the weapons are pretty good on their own. Old patch, they weren't particularly good. They weren't as energy efficient. They weren't accurate for guns. The melee weapons, you couldn't like move away from you, stuff like that. Now they're all good. So, anyways, found the next extract, but I also spotted this terminal, so I'm gonna get it wedged in the door and waste a little bit of time, just for fun. While I haul it over to the extract. The cart this time is much more manageable than it was that other time, and also moving this thing around the map is a little harder than moving stuff around in museum. Spot that ice block. Don't really need it right now, but could use it later. Although at this point, like, I've only found that one terminal. Like, I haven't found a whole lot of value on the map yet. The only big I found is the terminal. There's been, like, the vases and stuff, but that stuff's not that valuable. It certainly doesn't, like, build up to a valuable quota of 20.2 and the amount of money that has to be on the map for that to happen. But because I'm on the pace that I'm on right now, I decided not to ditch cart to go look for a big item, even though, like, if I were, like, barely ahead or even a little behind, I would have ditched cart there and just, like, gone to find something, because the chances of finding something are pretty high still. You're not gonna have just one big thing on a map like this. So at this point, that's why I'm, like, checking all of the locations where big stuff might be and not really finding much, which is a little concerning. Until this thing. And it's got enough value on its own. Just barely. But you can just, again, float stuff across the gap. tumble across rather than having to walk around and be all careful and slow with it, because it's indie on it too. Float it across this gap, and tumble across, and try to go nice, quick and easy. And there's a server that I passed by and didn't see, because I didn't look that direction. And then, Huntsman misses again, thank goodness. But this is a very busy truck room. I get chomped here, but thankfully most of the time if you get under bench, Headman won't bother you. Sometimes he can attack under the bench, but a lot of the times his view gets broken by different stuff in the truck. If he loses his line of sight on you, then he won't do it. All I really need from the shop at this point is the health, so that's all I get. And now we're on to level 10, which is thankfully an academy. Not a single Manor this run, which is good because Manor is easily the worst level to get. A lot more complex rooms, tight hallways make stuff hard to move through, especially without breaking it. Tight corners are worse for dealing with enemies. And like piano and dino bones can be in really bad spots that are just very hard to get them out of, like in basements and stuff. 20,000 flat extract value, that's like probably about as low as it can be. Then drop that down the stairs with the indestructible drone on it and check that little loft area. It is pretty full at this point, but also I left like $8,000 of value in the first room because I didn't need to bother moving them just yet. I wasn't sure if I was going to need them, and also a lot of it was, I mean, the Goblin Head and the Master Potion are both very annoying items to have to move around in cart. So rather than carting them, I can just leave them there, take note that there's value in there for later. And now instead of having to bring back 20k, I only really needed to bring back like 12. Kind of again, like last level, I haven't really found any like big items yet. Just like a couple of aces. And with the extract value being low, not finding items is a little concerning because now it means that there's like a higher likelihood of the items that I'm missing being like a Griffin or something like that. You kind of have to take the extract value to know like about how much value is probably on the map. I don't know the exact numbers, but I have like a good idea just based on like having played the game a bunch to know that like, oh, this much value means that there's probably like this many big items or whatever. And when there's less of those big items that you're finding on the map, they could just be all at the end of the map. But it also could mean that there's like a high value item that is making it to where there's less items on the map in general. And sure enough, there's a Griffin. The Griffin has a pretty low roll on it, but it's still an 11k bag. But there's an extract there. I saw a cube in the next room. Across the large gap. And this was actually enough to clear on its own. So I decided like, oh, I'll just turn this card in. And then the bag from the Griffin, and then the cube should be enough on their own to where I can just clear off of that and I don't have to look for valuables anymore. A lot of the time, I will leave this, like, middle extract for the end, because it makes the escape a little easier, because there's no enemies that you have to deal with if you get back to the truck before the quota finishes ticking down. But doing the last extract, or the far extract last, is technically faster most of the time. Because generally, you will, if you do a middle extract, especially now with a wing, you'll usually make it back quite safely before the lights go out and stuff starts spawning. I have enough strength to get that Cuban cart, but I kind of botched it a little bit. I just decided to put drone on it. Go ahead in there, take drone off it, throw the bag in, and then it's just a race to the truck. Which is mostly a straight shot. You have to be careful of like light fixtures and stuff on the ceiling. That's like the one big thing to get used to with wing, is that you float near the ceiling a lot, and if you hit your head on chandeliers and light fixtures and stuff, you'll get knocked down, and that could be very deadly sometimes. But yeah, made it back to the truck in one piece. Gnomes helped show the way a little bit there at that spot where I got a little bit lost, and there's your 3833. Thanks for watching.